African people.
Peace, 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 family. We made it. We made it. We made it, man. Peace, peace, peace. Do me a favor. As you come in, please like it up and share it and drop the nines to let me know that my audio is great, man. Y'all know we fighting with the algorithm over here. Also, if you're someone that's on YouTube, please do not be afraid to pound that like button up, share it. And if it's your first time, please hit that subscription icon. Then go right over next to that, hit the post notification bell and select all. That way you'll be notified every time we go live. Welcome to the live, CC Smith. Thanks for the nines. Yeah, this is going to be a good live today. It's going to be a good live today, y'all. Crick says, Moya, been a while, man. Welcome to the live reflection. Peace to you too, God. Where y'all at? Letitia Jones, welcome to the live. Shayla Williams, welcome to the live, and thanks for the nines, guys. Yep. This is going to be a dope live today, y'all. It's going to be a very dope live. And I'm trying to. Okay, Devon Trobe Brown, thanks for the nines. Letitia Jones, thanks for the nines. And welcome to the live to both of y'all, man. Give y'all some time to come in, man, because I know Facebook, man, you know, they don't really like sending them notifications out on time, man. And YouTube, they might be a little better. I don't know. Tarkeisha Reynolds, thanks for the nines. Say you've been on fire lately. Thanks, Jamia. Thomas, that's what I plan to bring from now on, that fire, man. That's facts. Steve Thornton, thanks for the nines. Kendall Thompson say, let's go. We on our way, reflection. Steve Thornton say, Grand Rising, reflection. Grand Rising to you too, God. That's big facts, man. Y'all do me a favor, man. Pound that like button up, man, and share it. Pound that like button up and share it, man. It's a lot of people who need to get this information, man. As I always like to say, man, we fight with the algorithm over here on a day-to-day basis, man. We have to push this information for ourselves. We have to show the algorithm that we are the algorithm. That's big facts. Christina Moya, thanks for the nines. Omar Green say, yo, greetings. Greetings to you too, reflection. Thanks for the nines. Say, I'm getting mines finally. That's big facts. Amber Finney, thanks for the nines. Say, the master teacher, you got up today, got up in here today. Man, look, I wish I was a master teacher. I haven't reached that standpoint yet. You feel me? But the hopes is to get there one day. Tara D, thanks for the nines. Ahmed Jamal, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name right. One love to you too, reflection. Maine Murray, thanks for the nines. Grand Rising to you too, Goddess, Tara D. Jay Megan said they actually can't find you no more. Why? What you mean by that? They can't find me. Dim Rise Cameron, thanks for the nines. I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. Yeah, I mean, if you can't find me, man, look, that's how YouTube, that's how Facebook wanted to be, man. Look, they don't want me to be found. It ain't just me that they don't want to be found. It's information like this, okay? And not just information like this. It's any information that goes against what it is that they promote on a day-to-day basis, y'all. You see what I'm saying? Information that's going to not awaken our people, but everybody as a collective whole, okay? See, I always like to tell you guys, once we begin to wake not just our people, but everyone as a collective whole, because through our story is going to encourage the ones who truly seek truth to go look deeper into our story so that they can find their truth, so that they can find their beginning. And through, you know, finding our truth, they're going to be able to find who it is that they are, their true heritage. You see what I'm saying? And this is for the ones who are not ignorant. You see what I'm saying? Danny Withers, thanks for the nines. Joshua Rosa, thanks for the nines. Say, bro, check about Motherland, Ethiopia. I'm most definitely gonna check into that, man. But you have to understand, we go further than Ethiopia. We're actually the Nubians, okay? Meaning the light-bearing, life-giving energy of the sun. Okay, so when you talk about Ethiopia, you have to understand that Ethiopia is a conjunction word that actually mean ether utopians. Okay, meaning having the characteristics of ether. Hence is why you're called an ether being. Okay, and it gets a little deeper because when you get into Greek, you know, this is something that they called us. They called us the aether beings. You feel what I'm saying? It gets a little deep, man. I don't really dug into, you know, the concept and the words, which we're going to go over all that again on YouTube. So if you ain't on YouTube, get over to YouTube because we're going to cut up over there and there's going to be content that's only going to be exclusive to that and my website. Okay? So, Joshua G. Rosa, thanks for the nines. I say Danny Weathers. Okay. Say you learned a lot from me. Thanks, Shayla Williams. Say, is that fire that has me trying to teach my fiance how to meditate and manifest positive things into her life? Man, that's big facts. That's big facts. You have to, man. It's all about speaking positive, but I do want you to understand this. Don't waste your time, bro, trying to embed something into someone who cannot see that light for themselves, because in doing so, you're only going to drain yourself. See, us being who it is, y'all, we tend to try to, you know, bring people with us, y'all. We tend to try to awaken people who are not ready to awaken at this point. Their genetics have not yet begun to activate yet. You see, and it may not activate at this time or place or in this lifetime. It may take a whole nother lifetime for them to activate. You feel me? You have to live in your truth. And then, you know, hopefully through you living in your truth, they're going to see the light in your truth. And then they're going to want to come to their truth as well. You see? Say on purpose, but I follow you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for following me, J Megan. Are you on YouTube? If not, you know, get over to YouTube. Letitia Jones say no, him, but you on your way. Oh yeah, he's most definitely a master teacher. Big facts. He is a master teacher, man. Chanel Davis. Thanks for the nines. Claudia, peace family. Steve Thornton say they do my page like that too, man. Look, they do everybody's who on point, man. You feel me? You are something to trust me. Oh yeah, big facts. Thank you. Miss Always Liddy say I feel that way doing it to me. I feel that they're doing it to me. Yeah. You know we got gatekeepers to the algorithm, y'all. But yeah. Thanks to everyone, man, for sending the nines, man. Like I say, y'all do me a favor, like it up and share it, y'all, because it's always ugly, man, trying to do what it is that I do. And like, you know, some of you are saying in the comment section that you do as well, pushing the information, because each one teach one. Let me say that again. Each one teach one. Okay. And through you learning good information, you're going to start to teach these things to your children. At least I hope you will. And then they're going to get a different mind state or a mindset. You see what I'm saying? And when they start to go inside of these educational systems and they're being trained and molded, then they're going to start to ask the real questions. You know, and hopefully through them asking the real questions, it encourages the school system to start to change the educational programming. You see what I'm saying? So y'all drop them nines if you agree with what I'm saying, man. All right. But like I said, man, this is going to be a very, very interesting video today, y'all. It's going to be a great video. I don't know if a lot of you know who this is, man, but this is Dr. Kaba Kamen. And that's somebody already said, one of the master teachers, man. One of the master teachers that he's going to be breaking down your heritage for the 9 ether beings, man. He's also going to be breaking down, you know, who the Moors were before they were the Moors and how they even came into. So this is going to be a great, great live, y'all. All right. But I do want to start this off with the right spiritual energy. I want to say peace to the gods and goddesses, peace to the ancestors, and peace to all of the high vibrational beings on the planet. Also, peace to the spiritual guides, peace to the ascended masters, and peace to the Most High for even giving me the courage and the strength to be here to give you guys this message. All right. And y'all already know what it is. We most definitely finna get ready to cut up.
Yeah, I'm about to expose every lie they done told, like how they trafficking kids and why they ain't got a soul. They feeding off our energy, trying to destroy the globe. They got weather control, they even making it snow. But we can't run from it, gotta grab it by the antler.
Now, I will say that I cannot confirm or deny anything that's about to get ready to be said in this video, man. But as always, man, I ask you guys use discernment when dealing with the information, man. Let me say that again. Use discernment when dealing with the information. Okay. I want you guys to understand, man. And this is not me shooting shots at any other ethical group, because I believe that we all need to come together as a collective whole in order to beat the system. But I need my people, the 9 ether gods and goddesses, to understand when searching for your information, you need to search for your information from the people who look exactly like you. Y'all drop them nines up, man. Drop them nines up. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. But I also need you to understand that when other people come to you that are not of your ethnical group and give you a certain amount of information, you need to be open to that as well, because I want you to understand, as he's going to let you know, there are people from all different walks of life that can give you information. And with that being said, man, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this video.
American people, there's a brother by the name of Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum. Dr. Bynum wrote a book called Dark Light. And in this book, he talks about the dimensions of human existence. The original melanated people, we live in 6 dimensions. The Western world lives in 3. Height, width, and depth. The 3 dimensions. Everything that they do deals with their material world. That's all they can deal with, is the material world. Depth, height, and width. I'm not speaking absolutes. I'm saying there are gifted people in all cultures. I'd like to get that out the way first before I say what I'm going to say. Because I know people always get caught up with, superiority and inferiority. And although I want to be careful, whether they realize it or not, they have made foundational Black Americans and the African diaspora superior. Not because we're Black, but because we're Black, they have done everything they can to destroy us, and yet still we survived what we experienced. You have somebody that does great things. They are helped to do those great things. And they rise, and they become great. That's great. But you have another person who strives to be great. And everything that could be done to hold them down, despite that, they still rise. They're great. They're great. By the nature of us surviving this system, day in and day out, to have to deal with what some of us have to deal with on our jobs every day. Oh, can I touch your hair? Okay. Oh, is that a weave? Like, are you really? Wow, that's pretty intelligent of you to think about. The little things that they say, the passive aggressive, and even the aggressive aggressive. In order to do that and continue, you have to be great. It don't even make a difference what station in life you are. In every station of life, this is what they do. I could tell stories about the things that some of them have said to me as I've moved through my career. And now that I'm retired, because you ain't gonna take my retirement check, and Social Security is mine, at least I think. And so I'm at a point now in my life that I see them for what they are, but I see us for who we are. I'm not upset, I'm not angry, but I'm disappointed that we don't know how great we are.
That's a big fact. That's a big fact, man. And that's because we settle for the information, y'all, that they have given us. We don't research further than that, because you have to understand that even when it comes, like, especially this generation and time that we're in, y'all, we are becoming lazy through the new technology that is being given to us. Our minds, we don't understand when you have cell phones and you have computers that think for you, that allow you to go in and do the research, and look it up within an instant. It's stopping you from reading. It's stopping you from actually exercising your brain. So therefore, you're not going to know how great you are, because you're settling for the information that's inside of the computer rather than going to look in the archives and digging inside those books that have the real information, rather than reaching out to the people that can actually give you the proper wisdom that is necessary for you to actually understand who it is that you are. We don't understand that. We accept these things, man, for being cool, but at the same time, we don't understand how damaging they are to us on a day-to-day basis, man. It's sad. This is why we don't know. And especially when we talk about, because not everyone is like who it is that he's saying, bro. These are the ignorant ones, man. They're actually people who are not of our ethnical group that respect the intelligence. But I need y'all to understand this as well. This all goes apart with how it is that we're being projected in the mainstream media. I never forget, man. It was at one point they tried to make people who had dreads look like the biggest gang in America. This is how afraid that they were of us growing our hair back, because they knew how much our hair connected us to the universe, how much our hair allowed us to receive the downloads that was necessary for us to understand or come to this point, right? They knew that. So they threatened, look, they wanted us to cut our hair off, y'all. They didn't want us to have dreads. They made it seem like the people who wore dreads were nothing but thugs. Y'all better wake up, man.
For those that may not know my background, I'm an educator from New York, based in New York, Bronx in particular, South Central Bronx. California has its South Central, and New York has its South Central. And with what's happening in Florida, and with what's happening in Texas, and could be here, it's in New York, it's all over the country. I've worked with different groups in education. And I'd like to cut the chase and get to the finish line to tell you this, so that you can understand, so we can understand what we're dealing with. Between 1989 and 1994, I was contracted by Fort Lauderdale, the Broward County school system, when they were beginning their multicultural program, to come down and to develop the teachers. At the same time, Dr. Asa Hilliard, Dr. Nana Bafo Amatwakia, was contracted to work with the principals. And so Dr. Hilliard and I worked together. He, as my elder, of course, I listened to him and I guided and I developed. But you see, my advantage was I started teaching in the Bronx 1979. And I purposefully structured my educational career around the fact that when I retired.
You right, Aman. Thanks for correcting me. She said there's locks, not dreads. Big facts. We need to stop calling them dreads.
Which I did in 2009. I would spend my life coming here to Atlanta, to JV's Records, to South Central, Los Angeles, Detroit, Chicago, South Side, and to begin to develop an understanding of what it is. In other words, for those that know the movie, I was the spook who sat by the classroom door. I spent my life studying the system in order to come back to our community and to be very straightforward as to what it was that we had to do. With no sugarcoat. Like Thelonious Monk said, straight, no chasing. We're in the record shop, so I can get musical with you.
That's right.
And I've taught every grade. I've taught every subject. I taught college for 14 years. I've developed 5 different charter schools. I've been an administrator. I started at the bottom, which was a substitute teacher in New York. So I have an idea of how things work in the system. When I was in Fort Lauderdale, I met some of the finest educators I've ever met in my life. But the great majority of them were horrid. They didn't want to teach. They did not meet what they wanted to in life. Teaching gave them a retirement plan, it gave them health benefits, and it gave them a salary. And so they became teachers. But for someone like myself, who is a born, I was born to do this. Thank you, brother. In my time in Fort Lauderdale, and even with what we see happening right now, I can honestly tell you that one of the greatest things that happened to us as a community was Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. I'm not saying this because they meant us any good. I'm not getting political with you as to how you should vote. I'm just telling you that after the years that we had of President Obama, there was a feeling amongst people that everything was all right, that we had finally arrived. We had our own black president. And what Donald Trump said was, yeah, it's all right. Let me show you what America is. He was the Pied Piper that brought the rats out of their holes to show America really what it was. Malcolm taught us that Democrats are sly foxes and Republicans are brute wolves, but they both belong to the dog family. Neither one of them has ever meant us any good. And when you look at political history, you can come to understand certain things.
I keep telling y'all, man, there is no such thing as the left wing and the right wing. They both fight for the same agenda. It's all about who's going to, run that agenda that's being pushed into our, into our existence. But if you're on Facebook, it's 125 people over here on I Am Awake and Alone, man. Y'all pound that like button, man. Pound that like button. We're fighting against the algorithm.
DeSantis has given us a very strong message. For those of us who are interpreting exactly what he's saying, he is saying, yes, we as European people have done horrible things to you. We have scraped the bottom of the human barrel in terms of our treatment of peoples of African descent. But you know what? I'm going to pass laws that's going to forbid you to teach our children how horrible a group of people they come from. You're not going to teach them. You're not going to make them feel bad. He's telling us, if you teach the truth, you're going to make folk feel bad for what they did. And you're going to make children, young children, question us as the adults. And you're going to make us want to have to explain, well, where was Granddad when they were putting fire hoses on the people? Where was Grandma when they blew up that church? Where were you when they assassinated Emmett Till? And to all those questions, they're going to have to say, we were right there doing it too. I know what they owe us. We're going to get reparations. The question isn't if, it's when. And the longer it takes, the more the interest on the bill you're going to owe us. So it's not a matter of whether or not we're going to get reparations. We are going to get it. As I can see the generations coming about, working with children, the younger generation ain't having this, okay? I respect and honor everybody that marches, and I respect everyone who has marched celebrating the 60th year. But my teacher, Dr. John Henry Clark, often told us the only thing that marching does is wear out the soles of your shoes.
Hey, and I'm going to tell y'all something, man. This is why Larry Hoover, man, is incarcerated right now, man, because he encouraged the people to go to the polls. And what I mean by that is it went beyond going to the polls, y'all. Okay, it was actually being on the poll that was being voted for. You see, and when you have someone like him that has a major influence despite the image that they wanted to portray of him, when you have someone like him that has a major influence on the black community, it is a threat, okay? Because if you get the right people inside the system, then that's when you can begin to change it. Let me say that again. If you get the right people inside of the system, that's when you can begin to change it. Because, and that's what they fear, y'all. They fear the right people getting inside of the system and being able to change it. And this is why they always come for the people who are unapologetic so-called black men and women, but majority the black men. Look at history, y'all. Look at all of our leaders that stepped up in any way, form, or fashion to give you the right knowledge and to bring truth to the community. Look at what they've done. Anyone that stood up for the community, look what they did to the Black Panther community. We just talked about this last night. They infiltrated it from the inside out, made it seem like it was more than what it was, and incarcerated any individual that had a major part station in any state or community. But yet and still, we have the KKK standing firm today, able to recruit people without a problem, y'all. Y'all don't see nothing wrong with that. Y'all drop them knives, man. It's crazy.
Because 60 years later, our children are saying, but we're in the same position we were in 60 years ago. What has changed? And you want us to do the same thing again? And our young people are not going to take this. And as the generations go on, other things will happen too. So, what I've come basically to do, and what I do as I visit different communities, is I basically want to lay out education. That's my lane. I stay in my lane. I don't get out my lane. And I learned that from a very intelligent brother by the name, I remember when I taught 8th grade literature, language arts, I used to use this brother's book as part of the reading material. I also had taped a interview that he had with a brother by the name of Gil Noble, who had a show called Like It Is. And he interviewed this particular individual. And I mean, this brother was just dynamic. This brother reflected our community, and he reflected all the things that we struggle with, and yet he was able to surpass all of that and rise to levels that were just breathtaking. He used to play classical music when he was operating on babies' brains, separating them. I'm talking about Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Ben Carson taught me a very important lesson. I think he taught us all a very important lesson. And the lesson he taught me, stay in your lane. Because you may be an absolute genius in one lane, but an absolute fool in another. He taught us that lesson. It's not that you cannot be good in other areas, but if you get into an area where you are not producing like you were where you were a genius, you better get back in your lane, and quick. And so I've learned to stay in my lane. My lane is education. Like brothers get on the basketball court and say, I got game. When I step into a classroom, I got game. I've studied our children. I've studied our process. I've studied our history. And I know how to do this. I'm very confident in the development of a curriculum and how we can begin to develop our classroom settings where we can teach our children. But first we have to teach our parents and our community. And out of that, we can then begin to develop understandings of what it is and who we are as a people. And I'm not going to say that about everybody. I never speak in absolutes. But family, we don't know truly how great we are. We really don't understand. And the evidence that we don't know is that we're not doing anything. That's the evidence. See, I like evidence. My good friend, Dr. David Imhotep, wrote a book, The First Americans Were Africans. And he used to say to me, you know, Brother Kaba, I hear people talk about truth and they talk about facts. But that's not what you should focus on. Focus on evidence. Facts and the truth can change, but evidence always remains the same. Pelasgians are the ancient African people of the Mediterranean basin. And I'm not just talking about North Africa. I'm talking about what we call Greece. I'm talking about what we call Italy, Etruria, Sardinia, Corsica, Minoa, all the islands of the Mediterranean. These are all black people. There is no other group of people anywhere in this area at this time but black folks.
And it's not an insult to even say these type of things. Okay, once you understand that when the planet was created, it was so hot and dense that you had to have our genetic makeup to even exist on this plane, the planet. It's not an insult. It's great knowledge to have. You see what I'm saying? For anyone, even the people that's not of our ethnical group, you had to have. It's a reason that your hair is kinky and curly the way that it is. It's so that it could withstand the heat that was on this plane, the planet at the time, y'all. It's a reason that you have the color that you have, because you had to have these sun heat genes in order to survive. Okay. It's great knowledge to have, bro. It's all about the way you perceive things. Okay? That's going to determine whether you're willing to take in information or not. Because you have a lot of people that perceive this type of information as an insult. Well, we were here. Well, look, that is not what history teaches us. We need to deal with that. And you need to deal with the fact that you are a younger species than we are. That's just it. That's all. It's not an insult. Therefore, you can start to, re-educate your children, give them the wisdom that they need to come to a greater understanding of who it is that they are and their original culture. Where it is that their culture actually comes from. You see what I'm saying? Their heritage, the knowledge that they have, where it actually come from. But they'll never do that, man, because in order for them to do that would mean for them to restore the balance back to the planet. And I'm talking about the powers that be, man, or the powers that were, as Shavi like to say.
Evidence, Pelasgians, is the group that you talk, but then there are different breakouts, different cultural groups according to where geographically they're located, that they'll become the Etruscans. They'll become the Minoans. Sports was built from military science. That's where sports came from. Long before people used sports, they were training for military science. But then what happened is that they began to want to train the young people in these military sciences. And so they created healthy competitions. And then out of these competitions in Egypt, it was called the Sed Festival, S-E-D Festival. In North Africa, we're looking for the name that they had, but they had these competitions, and pretty soon different nations in Africa competed in these types of military science concepts. And this competition was then called what we call it today. What do we call it? The Olympics. But look at what you are competing against in Olympics. The javelin, which is the spear, the discus, okay, the shot put, running, swimming, boxing, and guess what? Women box too. In fact, I got evidence, because I tell you right now, when I was in the schoolyard with children, I'd rather break up a fight between brothers than sisters. Because sisters know how to use every part of their body to just, when they take the Vaseline, take their earrings out, you better be on call. So the point that I'm making as we relate to this is the unification of the African nations in coming together before Europeans were ever in this area, coming from the northern climate, coming down south. And so it becomes.
Yes, I love what Randy Ross said. He said we can all still live balanced together as it should have been. We all need to be careful not to become the monster that we fight. That's big facts. That's big facts. See, this is what it's all about, though, Randy. I want you to understand that. This is what the education or the wisdom that's being bestowed, upon the newer generation, the children, right? This is what it's all about. And it's up to you, Randy, as well, to teach your people the same message that you're giving here today, right? Because, this is what's going to bring balance back. The truth is the only thing that will ever set you free. Understand what I'm saying? Y'all drop that in the comment section below. The truth is the only thing that will ever set you free. If you continue to lie to a generation, then what is that going to bring? Huh? It's going to bring nothing but destruction. Look, a lie can't bring peace. The truth is the only thing that's going to ever set us free, man. See, this is what's going to bring us back to balance. The truth. And that's facts, man. Yeah, it's going to bring chaos, as Carter Lee just said. Y'all drop that in the comment section below. The truth is the only thing that will ever set you free.
Important for us to understand this. Now, the very best of these warriors, particularly coming up they were trained in an area that we today look at as Kush, the Beja people, B-E-J-A. And Beja were to bring forward a group of people, and what they call chemistry comes from an African chem mystery, which means black magic. Now, black magic doesn't exist as it relates to magic. Magic, the word that we used was called Heka, H-E-K-A, Heka, the spirit of the word, Heka, Huka.
Okay, which actually means the strong belief in speech and the power in words, y'all. That's what Heka, it means a lot of things, but it's all about the strong belief in speech and the power of your words. Because see, our ancient ancestors understood that with our words, we spoke things into existence. Our words are actually magic because we cast spells with them. Let that sink in, y'all. Your words are actually magic because you cast spells with them. And this is why they give you a certain language. This is why, I tell so many people, Joe, speak highly of yourself and the people around you, because when you speak to them from and of yourself from a positive aspect, you speak life into them. Okay?
And out of this black magic, we had this person or persons that was said to practice black magic. They called them Magi, the M-E-D-J-A-Y. The Magi are a highly specialized cultural group from Kush. When I use the term Kush, I'm talking about countries that we today call Kenya, Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Chad, Sudan, and southern Egypt. Magi is a term used in various ways throughout Northeast African history, the Magi. An elite group of people that would come out of the sports, that would come out of the warrior class, that would come out of the educational system. These were the Imhoteps. These were the Paul Robesons. These were the multi-geniuses that would come up out of us as a people. That's who the Magi were. The Magi were an elite force of warriors, scholars, priests, and priestesses. The Magi. In Star Wars, there was a group of people known as what? The Jedi Knights. Well, they got that from the Magi of Africa. Now, if you go to the movie The Mummy, the remake 1999 and 2001, The Mummy and then The Mummy Returns, you know that there was a group of individuals. Of course, they did not look like the original Magi, but they were what? They were the caretakers of the Egyptian legacy. They're found throughout Lower and Upper Kush, Kemet, because I don't use the term Egypt, of course, even though Egypt is an African term. When you look at the word etymologically or linguistically, when the Eurasian came down into Northeast Africa and came in through Egypt, when they came in, they came to this area that was considered to be the capital, according to the African, Kush. And they had named this area Heka Ptah. Ptah is the creator, P-T-A-H. Ka, Heka is the spirit, the essence. Ka is spirit from the creator, which was what they call the capital of this area. And in so doing, particularly the Greeks, they took this word Hekapatah and they created the word Egupatos. H-E-K-A-P-T-A-H, African word, Hekapatah. The Greeks, in transforming the word Hekapatah, created Egupatos. A-I took care of H-E, G-U took care of K-A, and P-T-O-S changed P-T-A-H. So Hekapatah, African, became the Greek Egupatos, and then from there it was further contaminated so that the A-I became E, the G-U became G-Y, and the P-T-O-S became P-T. You follow linguistically? Hecapata is really the word that we're using. They changed it to Egupatos, and today we call it Egypt. So, Kush Kemet is the term that I use for Egypt in particular, because there's no such thing as Kemet, really. Kemet really is that same land area that the Indo-Europeans called Egypt. Egypt was founded by the Kushites. The original Egyptians were Kushites. Even though we have all of these different dynastic systems that we say we have, like there was 30 different dynasties, and you have the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom, that doesn't really exist. That's made up in the minds of people in order to somehow be able to chart the progress of these nations from whence the Indo-Europeans came in contact with these Africans. But really what we're talking about, the original people that inhabited this area were really people who had just simply moved from what we call Kustal into Edfu in Lower Kemet into Hecapata. These were Kushites. But when you allow people to come in and change the wording, then all of a sudden you start changing what these people look like, and then that's how you get to movies like Star Wars and you get The Mummy. Because you've allowed people to define who you are. So that's why I use the term Kush Kemet. You can't understand Kemet if you don't understand Kush, because that's who the people are. And I'll take you one step further. You can't understand Kush Kemet if you don't understand the Twa and Mbuti Khoisan people of Central and Southern Africa, who were the peoples that brought forward the entire Kush Kemetic legacy. And of course, they started the West African. They are derogatorily called pygmies. The Magi were highly trained warrior scientists who had mastered the principles of Ma'at. They lived the principles of Ma'at: truth, justice, balance, harmony, order, arrangement, reciprocity. And about 2500 BC, these nation states coalesced, joined forces, and started a nation known as Ouagadougou. Ouagadougou is the name that we call ancient Ghana. It wasn't Ghana. It was called Ouagadougou. Ghana means king in the language of these individuals. Just like Mansa is the word for king in the Malinke Empire, and Askia is the name of the king in the Songhai. Ghana is not the name of the culture or the civilization. It's Ouagadougou. And Ghana is what we now think of as it relates to the first of the medieval kingdoms. It's not accurate linguistically, but the point I'm trying to make is the West African kingdom started 2500 BC. Not when you get up into the 10 or the 1100s AD. We go back much further than that. But the point I'm making is that as West Africa was forming itself in Ouagadougou 2500 years ago, these same Africans found themselves in North Africa and going into the Mediterranean basin. So when we're talking about who the Moors were before, and I just want to take a specific group because you got the Dogon of Mali that were there in Ouagadougou and in the Malinke and in the Songhai Empire. See, they break us up into groups episodically. And when they do that, you don't get a chance to see the holistic connection between all of us as a people in Africa. And that's why it's not until we do this research for ourselves that it's going to make a difference. When I was developing curriculum, when I was doing my work, I went to people such as Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Joseph Ben-Yekinen, Dr. Shashi McIntyre. I went to Dr. Amos Wilson and Dr. Asa Hilliard. I looked for my validation of my research and my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from us. I don't care nothing about them. And it's not that I haven't learned from them. I don't want to seem like it's not that. I've learned a lot from a lot of different people in a lot of different cultures. And I want to be real clear on that. Because this is not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that we must create our own understanding of who we are through our eyes. Period. End of sentence. Period. At the same time, respect knowledge and wisdom that comes from different places. Because sometimes the Creator puts knowledge in the mouth of the person you least want to hear it from. So you always got to keep yourself open, because sometimes the Creator want to test how open you are to universal knowledge. So we want to look at a particular group of people, and we're going to talk about the Etruscans. Etruria, before Rome or Italy. Okay? The Etruscans before the Romans. Etruria before Italy. The Etruscans originally colonized the whole peninsula from the Alps to the Straits of Messina. Etruscan art was absorbed into the Greek mainstream and lost its individuality. This is where they stole our legacy, stole the legacy. Their books were lost or destroyed. The Etruscans. But enough has been left behind to show us exactly who these original peoples of what would be considered to be the western side of Italy, the islands of Sardinia, Corsica, and other areas, other islands within that area like Sicily. Okay. The Etruscans spoke a Niger-Congo language. The original Etruscans spoke a Niger-Congo language, and it is now possible to present evidence that links the Etruscan to the Mande people of West Africa. Now keep in mind, family, what I'm trying to do is because a lot of times we look to...
That's crazy. Steve Thornton said a lot of comments were taken out. That's crazy, y'all. This is what they do, bro. Like, y'all don't think these social media sites are involved with this? Who you think run the social media sites? Why you think they limiting the amount of information that they allowed us to be given? This is why it's so important, bro, that we create our own sites, y'all. And I'm not even just saying for the people of our ethnic group, for the people who wish to push the same things that we're pushing. We need our own sites, y'all. Because you have to understand, we are the ones who actually make them the most money. It ain't going to be until we come to the understanding, bro, that things are going to start to change, bro. We are, when you talk about the so-called black man, bro, we are the biggest consumers in America. We spend our money, bro. We make up the economy. Understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Egypt to be the Mediterranean. Now what I'm saying is that there's enough evidence to show West Africa in the Etruscan language, in Etruscan art. And that becomes very important because we are caught up, and rightfully so, because there's phenomenal things happening in Kush Kemet. But we're so caught up in it that we think that that's the best that Africa offered. Everything else was primitive. But we don't even realize that the base language of the Etruscans was a Niger-Congo language, which is related to the largest language group in Africa, upon which the original language spoken by the Twa Mbuti Khoisan is based. And it is also based in the...
See, the fact is that I don't even have a moderator on here, Steve Thornton, so I don't understand how any moderators are even moving anything here. That lets you know that the police they in my shit. Understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Largest African language in the world today, the 7th largest language spoken in the world, and a language that is being adapted by many African nations today as the universal language. This is why I'm encouraging for us to look to Medu Neter or hieroglyphics as the classical African language. Just like Europeans look to Greek.
Yeah, Tamika said there was also someone here throwing out names when they were asking what the name is. I got him up out of here. Don't even worry about that. He got up out of here.
As classical African, as their classical language, I'm saying we should look at Medu Neter as our classical language. But our practical language that we speak to each other should be Kiswahili. Kiswahili is a very important language in the Niger-Congo language system. Now, I'm sure that here in Atlanta, you have folk that speak Kiswahili and teach it. But if by chance you would like to know where you might be able to go, I recommend that you go online to Abibitumi, ABIBITUMI.com. That is a phenomenal language academy based in Ghana, led by the Kambon family. And they teach a lot of different languages. ABIBITUMI.com. I don't want to leave you just by telling you Kiswahili. I want you to be able to go someplace. If you want to start learning, Jambo means hello. Kwaheri means goodbye. You know, Tafadhali means please. Asante means thank you. You know, Mwalimu means teacher. Mwanafunzi means student. Shule is school. It's a very important language, Kiswahili. If I go to Puerto Rico and my brothers and sisters speak Spanish and I speak English, we should be able to speak Kiswahili to each other. If I go to Brazil and my brothers and sisters speak Portuguese, we should be able to speak Kiswahili to each other. If I go to Holland and my brothers and sisters speak Dutch and I speak English, we should be able to speak Kiswahili to each other. It should become a universal language that we can go anywhere in the world, and when we see a brother or sister, we don't have to trip over language. We can just talk to each other in Kiswahili, even if it's to say, Jambo, Bwana, okay? Jambo, Bibi. Jambo means hello, and Bwana means Mr., Bibi means Miss. You know, it's funny, language opens the door to cultural understanding. Even if you don't have a lot of language, like, even if Jambo is the only word you know, okay, you say Jambo, and somebody speak, it opens the door to them. And so Kiswahili should become a language that based in the Niger Congo, and the Etruscans belong to a Niger language group. To understand what happened with Italy and Africa in particular, you know, you would have to understand the Punic Wars that began about 200, 300 BC, when they first came in contact with these Africans in the wars. Like, you know, when you're dealing with Cartadas or Carthage, you're dealing with Hannibal, okay, and his father, Hannibal, and his father that fought the Italian forces. And I have a sad story to tell you, because at the same time of Cartadas in Tunisia, you also have an African nation in Morocco known as the Numidians, who are Africans. And family, I'm gonna tell you a sad story. There's war going on between these Africans. And the Cartadas, related to the Phoenicians that are in Lebanon, Africans, are mistreating the Numidians, and the Numidians are not very happy with Cartadas. And what made the Italian forces, the Romans, come in and defeat the Africans was they divided and conquered the Numidians and the Cardassians. Every place.
And you know what? That all goes back to when we talk about the story of Yakub. You know, when we talk about the book that he created, or the doctrine that he created of the 120 degrees of trichology. That was the foundation that it was built on. It was built on their ability to be able to come in and to divide and conquer. And that's the same thing that's being used today. Understand what I'm trying to tell you, bro? And it's not just being used on our people. It's being used on us as a collective whole. Okay? Let me say that again. It's being used on us as a collective whole. We give them last, and then we divide them in order to conquer them as a collective whole. Understand that? Because as I said yesterday, I don't care what color you is, man. If you ain't a part of that original 13 bloodline, you ain't nothing but a pawn in a chess game. You ain't nothing but a pawn in a chess game. Janelle Rodriguez say she can't hear me, man. Y'all drop them nines if my audio is still great. So yes, it all goes back to the story of Yakub. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. That's why. Because the people that's actually running, and I want y'all to understand this, bro, it's not a race war. It's a species war. Because the so-called white man, they're a species. The so-called black man is a species. Okay, the so-called Chinese, the so-called whatever ethnical group you want to say that you are, is a species of people. Man, look, it's bigger than what you think it is, man.
Where I study our history, those that come from the outside have never been able to conquer us. They took advantage of us fighting amongst ourselves. Whether you're dealing with the Indo-Europeans that came in that would destroy the old kingdom of Kemet, whether you're dealing with the Numidians and the Cardassians or the Carthaginians, I can bring you over to the Moors in 1492 that were fighting amongst themselves, that allowed the kingdoms of Aragon and Castile to come in and defeat the Moors. No matter how you look at it, you go on the plantations and you're dealing with the, don't call them Uncle Toms, because Uncle Tom was the hero of the story, even though Harriet Beecher Stowe. But anyway, it's not the Uncle Toms that destroy us. It's the Sambo that destroy us. And so, that is what's going to mess up our Numidian Empire, which was a formidable empire in Morocco. Okay, again, you're dealing with North Africa, and these are Moors. Moor is just the name that we put on them. Before that, they were called Ethiopians. After Moors, they were called Negroes. So that when you're looking at these words and you're developing an understanding, Moor is a word that's used, but it's melanated people. Etruria was the land of the ancient African Etruscans. Etruria was the land, and Etruria has a river called Minoa, which many people believe was named after Menes or Menefer, who was one of the early Neset Beti, or pharaohs of ancient Kemet. Etruscan numerals are African. This can be seen from the fact that 4 is Sa, but 10 is Sar. 4 is SA, 10 is SAR. These numbers come from the Niger-Congo Ta, meaning hand, also 4, and Tan, 10 in Mande, which is a West African language. The Etruscans are in Sardinia at an early date. Sardinians are Etruscans who are Africans, and I show you a map of Sardinia for you to be able to see exactly what you're dealing with as it relates to, you're looking at the island off the coast, off the west coast of Italy of today. See, when we think of Italy, we think of Italians. They didn't exist at this time. They were up north, coming up out of the Ice Age. Evidence for an early African presence at Rome can be found in the two-headed Janus figure, which again is not European. The Janus type, however, is widespread and common throughout Africa. This is the art form that we're dealing with now. Evidence of Africans in art, evidence of Africans in language. You see, you can't just say something. This is evidence now that I'm dealing with. You can't just say something and not be able to show it in various aspects of the culture of what you're dealing with. It comes forward in the art. It comes forward in language. Not just archaeology where they found black folk, not just in terms of anthropology where they tracked the historical background of these individuals. You have to be able to see them in their everyday way of life, which is in their art, which is in their language, which is in their number system. That's what the Etruscan language is. The Niger-Congo influence on the Latin language. Latin, the language of the Romans, shows Niger-Congo influences in its verb form, in its verb forms. One of the most important concepts when you teach language arts, One of the most important concepts in language when you're teaching children is what we call the infinitive. To be, to run, to jump. The word to in front of the action word itself, that's an infinitive. That verb formation is what forms the very action of your language. Everything that deals with verbs deals with your action. Everything that you do comes from your verbs. Sit, run, jump, eat, dance, sing, all verbs, action. So when you get into a language and you begin to see the verb formations that are connected to an African Niger-Congo language, you know that the very nature of the action of that language came from that language that it's based in. So the Latin language, which includes now Spanish and French, Portuguese, Romanian, Italian, all of those come from what's called Vulgar Latin. Vulgar Latin is the language spoken by the everyday people. We think that Spanish lasted a long time. It hasn't been around that long. It was King Alphonse X that translated Arabic into Latin, and then that Latin became Vulgar Latin, and out of Vulgar Latin came Spanish, French, Portuguese, Romanian. Okay? We talking about 600 years ago when nobody's saying, ¿Cómo está usted? Or ¿Cómo allez-vous? We don't know this. Because we have been born in a space-time continuum that doesn't allow us to look into the past. And it forbids us to look into the future, because if you can't understand the past, you can't interpret the present, you can't predict the future. Vulgar Latin comes out of what's called classical language. And so all of these languages that are forming itself as it gets into the relationship of African Moors in going into Europe is now going to take on these verb forms. And what's going to happen is that the kings and the queens are going to take the Arabic language or the Afrabic language, because Arabic was based out of the languages coming out of the Ethiopian mountains. It's just the way it is. The Indo-Europeans that were in the East did not form Arabic. That is why it was only formed when they came in contact with the Africans in Saudi Arabia. That's just the evidence of it. Where do you see it before Islam, the way of peace? Where do you see it before Bailal? Okay, Antara was a poet who gave Arabic its grammar, its syntax, that took this language and he synchronized it. It's called syncretism. He synchronized this African language coming out of the mountains, touched by Amharic and other languages in Ethiopia, as we know Ethiopia proper today, Abyssinia, took that language. Bailal came down with this spiritual system, settled in Saudi Arabia. As the language developed, Antara, the poet, would take it. Because languages are formed by poets. Because they are the ones that write. It's just like Alexander Pushkin. Okay, Russians can thank Alexander Pushkin for the Russian language, because Pushkin was a poet that took the language, the geographic location of the language, mixed it with the French, because if it wasn't for Alexander Pushkin, Russians would be speaking French to him. Because the Gauls, because Russia was part of the Gaul kingdom. This is just history, family. We dropping it like it's hot, family. Who were the Moors before the Moors? So you can understand how such a fantastic civilization could have given birth to what we call Western civilization. And in giving birth to Western civilization, you can understand how we are deeply imprinted in this civilization, and you can understand why when we say we built this civilization, we mean it. This is all right in front of us. But we don't put those pieces together, because when someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable. The use of the impluvium, a feature of the Roman domestic architecture, was first developed in Africa. The impluvium is a water catchment pool system meant to capture rainwater flowing from the slanted roof, often placed inside instead of outside the home. The impluvium or rain court is used by the Yoruba and is common in Senegal. I make that point again to connect West Africa. Because again, we're all caught up in Egypt. I understand that. But at the same time that Egypt was great, West Africa was great. It probably derives from the box house of the African savannah. The Roman house was based on the Etruscan model. These folk done stole our legacy, put their name on it, don't want to teach it in school, and therefore we don't know that what they're saying they're so great about, we created.
And it's also that you would never rise back into your power. It's also that you would never stop the destruction in the lower poverty communities amongst one another. You see what I'm saying? Because in order for you to know where you headed, you have to know where you come from. If you knew that you were from greatness, if you knew that you were of royalty, your whole thought process would change. The whole way you interact with your people would change. You will hold your health in high standards and begin to put yourself on a pedestal. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? Because you know who it is that you are. You know the role that you play, not in just America, but in the world as a collective whole. It would change, y'all. This information is dangerous to the system that has been built. It's dangerous. It's crazy, y'all. This is why, bro. This is why they have to teach you that your history goes no further than slavery, that they gave you your freedom. And before this, you were just a barefooted man running around Africa trying to scrape and scramble for food. They don't want you to know that it was kingdoms over there. They don't want you to know all of this, bro. They don't want you to know that the very foundation that you stand on right now was built by you. Your whole thought process has changed, man. It's dangerous.
The ivory arms you can see suggest Africa. You can see ivory throughout Etruria that was brought in from Africa. Again, evidence. Ivory was also used for the stool, a symbol of African authority, of the African magistrate, and known to be Etruscan. In Africa, the stool has powerful significance. Only kings were allowed to sit on the elephant stool. African bull sports were associated with fertility. The tomb of the hunter is illustrated with census of the chase. I don't need to tell you about the bullfights in Spain and where that came from. Hunting related to war and mortality. I understand what the swastika does to people, but another story that's never really been told, that I have been told by people who are of German descent, who are African, is the first people that Hitler attacked were the Africans. Remember that Hitler wasn't creating a new religion. He was creating a new race. And the first people...
I told y'all. If you've been following me for a long time, you heard me say that. Okay? And why was he trying to create this new race? It's because of these angelic beings known as the Pleiadians or the Ashtar command that actually came over. Okay? He was trying to create this race of beings that he had seen already that promised them a heaven. Y'all better wake up, yo. It's deeper than what you think it is. And this is why I tell y'all, bro, it's bigger than race. It's not about race. It's all about species. And the history that they gave you was nothing more than a lie. But you accepted it by not going and doing the extra research because you said, well, if it was taught in school, then it has to be the truth. You see what I'm saying? Well, if it was taught in school, it has to be the truth, bro. It's not. Truth goes beyond what they teach you in school. History is history. The story of the victor. Understand what I'm saying? Man, bro, y'all better, man, look, go do your research, man.
He tried to purify out of Europe were the Africans and the Caribbean Africans that remained in Europe after World War I. This is why he called it Vater, the father. He wanted to go back to a pure Europe, just like they're doing now, just like they're doing in America. But Hitler, and you know, Whoopi Goldberg said this. I think they took her off the air for 2 weeks for saying this. But basically, the reason why the Jews were attacked was because he believed them to be impure because their blood had been mixed with Africans. If you read his work, if you read Mein Kampf, it was a book he wrote when they arrested him and put him in jail. If you read Mein Kampf, it'll tell you right there what was going on as it related to people of Jewish faith. They saw them, the Europeans saw them as impure because they carried black blood. And that's why they were being gotten rid of more than any other reason. Other reasons too. And what happened to them was horrible. Okay, so I'm not playing with that concept because I've known soldiers of World War II that told me they carried Jewish people out of the camps. How many? We don't know. The numbers have to be worked on. But it did happen. And if it happened to just a couple, it's a horrible thing no matter how we look at this. Inhumanity to humanity is a horrible thing no matter who is on the receiving end of the horror. But at the same time, we have to look at this historically accurately so we can come to decisions about the realities of what we face as a people. In my book, Spirituality Before Religions, if you really want to get into it, I tell you where the whole faith system came out of. The word Hebrew comes from the word Ha'ibri, which means the ones who crossed over. And the leader of the Ha'ibri were the Ha'ibrihim, is where you get the word Abraham. But I'll leave that there for now because we talk about your trust.
Hey, yeah, that is a deep subject, man. That is a deep subject when you talk about Abraham crossing over. I think it was a bridge that, and then he was honored by the people who, I think the culture, I don't know if it's the Canaanites or what it was. We're going to get into that too, y'all. But, and they called him Hebrew because he had, you know, they gave him Israelite or whatever he just said because he had crossed over. I think it was a bridge or something, but don't quote me on that, y'all. But it get a little deeper than that.
Just like here in America, the base of this civilization is African. But out of this African civilization, and I'm not talking about post-1492, I'm talking about the original human beings that came to this part of the world known as the Twa Mbuti, the Khoisan, the original first migration of human beings to come to this world were the people derogatorily called pygmies, and there's a very good chance that the populating of this country came through South America and probably Brazil and probably from Angola and south. They took what's called the Benguela Current in the early days. The short-statured people, the Khoisan, probably took the early currents and landed it up, and that current, the Benguela Current, takes you right into the mouth of the Amazon River. And that is where we find some of the oldest artifacts of African people on the American hemisphere. After that came the Clovis Folsom people. The Clovis Folsom people are another African people. And they came here and they mated with and joined forces with the Khoisan people. And then the third migration were the Algonquin. The Algonquin also were a melanated people, but had been impacted by climate change. And then came the Inuit that would come through and come up through North America, and they're derogatorily called the Eskimo. And then the fifth and final group of people came in the largest amount of numbers, and these were the people that are called the Asiatic. And these Asiatic coming down came in out of the north, and this is the people that are being given credit for being Native American, and they're not. It is not that they don't have the blood of the original African people. It's that they are not the Native American. They are not the indigenous American. They are the fifth migration of human beings that came to this part of the world and would create a people that are today called the Apache, the Arapaho, the Cherokee and the Choctaw. But in the beginning blood of the Cherokee and the Choctaw and the Blackfoot is the original African people. Now, some don't like to hear it. And I understand. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't like to hear that my history is not quite what I'm teaching. But guess what? Cry your river, build a bridge, and get over it. Because the truth shall set you free.
And that's the only thing that's going to set you free. Understand what I'm trying to tell y'all, man? See, this is the information, man, that they want to get pushed out. And it's not hate information. It's just the truth, man. We have to understand that everything that is, or that everything that was and that is, did come from us. It came from us. No matter if you even go back into the story of Yakub, man, it's a lot of people that want to, make it seem like, it's deeper to me. When I look at the story of Yakub and we talk about the human grafting program, you have to understand that, even the albino people, the people that he created, came from the darker species. Okay. He created them because he understood that it was a lighter gene inside of the darker species. Okay. So what he would do was he would take that darker gene, everyone that would come from a darker gene, he would take them and he would throw them out. He would, disperse of them, for lack of better words. He would unalive them. He would feed them to the wolves. He would feed them to the wild animals. Understand what I'm saying? Until he created this group of beings. Okay. And so when we believe in this type of story and you understand that they come from us, it makes it hard to believe that, they don't have souls. Hey, don't kill a messenger, because if you came from someone with a soul and you was created from someone with a soul, taking the weaker gene from the stronger gene, then that wouldn't take out the fact that you would have a soul. Okay. And that's just the truth. You see what I'm saying? But you have to understand, bro, that, we partake in a game, even the Yakub, we partake in, when you go, anyone who has a child from a one night stand, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that you go have a child from a one night stand and you decide to go get, what do they call them, y'all? When you try to get rid of the baby, y'all know what I'm talking about. You don't understand, bro. That was put in the play by Yakub. That's who put that into play. The whole abortion thing was started by Yakub, because he made it when he moved to the island of Papoose. Okay, Papoose, whatever the island is. He put into place that any child that was born that was not of a lighter species, then he wanted them to be immediately hit with a needle, y'all, and dispersed of. Okay, and that's the same system that's being put into play now. See, you have to understand, bro. That's why so many of these abortion clinics are put inside of the black community, or the so-called black community, because it was really meant for you. But see, the things that was actually meant for you spilled over into their community, just like the war on drugs. Ronald Reagan waged the war on drugs before drugs had even hit the community, because that was another way for them to create genetic genocide. The liquor stores is another way for them to create genetic genocide. The music is another way for them to create genetic genocide. It just so happened that it spilled over into their communities. Because you have to understand, bro, you are a trendsetter. Let me say that again. You are a trendsetter. So therefore, you lead the pack without even knowing it, yo. You lead the pack without even knowing it, man, because it's in your blood. It's in your genetic makeup to lead. You see what I'm saying? But you have to understand, Papoose, yes, Papoose. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand, bro. This was great information, man. Plan B or the day after pill. Yes, you feel me? You say you got some heat for me, Carter Lee? Go ahead, send it to my inbox, Reflection. You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand that, bro. And look, you have to understand this information right now is the de-spelling of the people. We have to de-spell our people because we are under a spell. Not just our people, but them too. The spell was cast on them too. The spell of Leviathan, the spell of sleep. You don't think they walking around sleep because they really believe inside their head that they are who they was taught that they were. And it's not hate. They have been lied to too. They need to come to that understanding, bro. We have all been lied to. The time is now for us to wake up, bro, and start to really realize, bro, that we are nothing more than chess in a pawn game, so that we could begin to rise up, so that we could begin to activate as a collective whole and start to move as one unit. So for anyone that is not of our ethnical background and you come across this video or you are watching this video at this time, man, I need you to understand that the truth is the only thing that will set you free. The truth is the only thing that will ever bring balance back to this plane of planet. The truth is the only thing that will restore the peace to the plane of planet. So don't be afraid of it. Dig into the history so that you can realize who it is that you are, and so that you can begin to teach your children who it is that they are, where it is that they come from, and, you know, their true heritage. Because if we all start to push it, the truth, then that's when we're going to all be able to live, you know, in unity and in balance. That's when we're going to all be able to respect one another, because we're able to respect our differences. All right. And so with that being said, man, if you haven't already, please get over to YouTube, man. If you're someone on Facebook, get over to YouTube and follow me on YouTube at I Am Awakened. I have plenty of lectures coming up. I'm debating if I'm going to put these lectures over here, if they're going to be exclusively for the website. But either way it go, we finna cut up, y'all. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. We finna cut up. We're going to start from the basics and we're going to build back up. It's not a hate thing. So if you from any ethnical group, you're welcome to come over. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? Because I understand in order for us to win this war, we're going to have to move as a collective whole. Okay? We're going to have to move to one beat and one sound. Okay? So get over to YouTube, man. The website will be coming out soon, man. If you ain't following me already on Instagram, get over to Instagram at I Am Awakened _chosen1. Follow me over there as well, man. We're going to cut up, man. And, you know, I just want to leave you as I can. I want you guys to always be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. And as always, peace, family. Peace meaning positive energy. Always creates elevation. Ashe.